Nothing is more important than getting a good night's sleep, and when you don't get the rest you need, your whole day is thrown off. That's why it's so important to choose the right mattress. Sleeping on a Purple mattress is truly a unique experience because Purple mattresses are made with a Gel Flex Grid. The Gel Flex Grid is an innovative material that moves with your body to relieve pressure in areas like knees and hips and support in others like your back. It feels soft where you want it and supports where you need it. Purple mattresses instantly adapt when you move. You don't sink in and get stuck like with memory foam. And thanks to over 1,400 air chambers in the Gel Flex Grid, you will sleep cooler on a Purple mattress. Purple has a wide variety of mattresses, from the original Purple mattress to the Restore Hybrid collection that combines Gel Flex Grid with coils, and the Rejuvenate Luxe collection, the height of luxury, with over 112,000 five-star reviews to prove it. Visit Purple.com to find the perfect Purple for you and enter code podcast10 to get 10% off.
Knowing how to speak and understand a new language can be an invaluable tool when traveling, meeting new friends, or just even to master a new skill. But it's not always simple when you're bogged down by textbooks and structured classes. That's why so many people trust Rosetta Stone. Rosetta Stone is the most trusted language learning program, available on desktop or as an app. It truly immerses you in the language you want to learn, like Spanish, French, Italian, Chinese, and more. You won't just be studying English translations. The Rosetta Stone intuitive process helps you pick up a language naturally, first with words, then phrases, then sentences. Don't put off learning that language. There's no better time than right now to get started. For a very limited time, listeners can get Rosetta Stone's lifetime membership for 50% off. Visit rosettastone.com/rs10. That's 50% off unlimited access to 25 language courses for the rest of your life. Redeem your 50% off at rosettastone.com/rs10 today.
Well, we got a minute. I'm going to buy that truck I've been wanting.
Wait, don't you need like weeks to shop for a car?
I don't. Carvana makes it super convenient to find exactly what I want.
Hold up. You're buying a car on your phone? Isn't that more of a laptop thing?
You can shop wherever you want.
I like to do my research, read reviews, compare models. Plus, Carvana has thousands of options. How'd you decide on that truck?
Because I like it.
Oh, that is a great reason.
Go to Carvana.com to sell your car the convenient way.
It's time. It's time. Time to get in the zone. Time to get in the zone with the 49ers Web Zone. This is the No Huddle Podcast with Al and Brian.
49ers Web Zone, No Huddle Podcast, part of the Odyssey Network. I'm Al Sacco, and like the rest of you, I am stuck in Brandon Aiyuk hell. But it's all we can talk about right now. So we reached out to one of the guys who's been on the situation from the beginning, reporting that there's something to this Aiyuk to the Steelers talk. He covers Pittsburgh sports for 93.7 The Fan. He's one of the hosts of First and Pod. He is Andrew Fillipponi. Andrew, thanks for taking time to come on.
Al, you bet. It's interesting, this whole saga, the twists and turns. I didn't really want to get into it because I felt like my listeners were really at their Aiyuk saturation point because there was so much boy who cried wolf from really the draft on. And so when somebody dropped this into my lap on Monday and said, hey, this is really heating up, I'm like, oh, crap, because I'm going to put this out there and it's going to inflame people and get them fired up. And then I just kept getting more and more information from people that I have never been led astray by.
Right.
That's the thing about this is that I get it. I mean, there's skepticism and cynicism because I'm not an insider. I'm not a newsbreaker. I'm not Adam Schefter. I'm not Ian Rappaport. I'm not any of these people. And so when I go out on an island and say something's going to happen and then it gets refuted, or at least people aren't willing to go as far as I did with the reporting on it, people start to lash out and say, you don't know what you're talking about. You've lost your mind. But I will say that, and this goes back to the reporting from Matt Mayoko on Monday. He said the Steelers were out. They're clearly not. And Schefter also said they weren't a landing spot. And then 2 hours later had to do a total 180 on it. So I have not changed my tune on this whatsoever. The people I've talked to, I think, have been right the entire time. And if this doesn't happen, then I will have been bamboozled, or my source will have been bamboozled, And I have a hard time believing, based on who I'm talking to, that it could happen to this person, unless they have malicious intent for me and just want to make me look bad. Which maybe just some of my listeners is something that we should not completely rule out.
And there's posturing in this too, right? I mean, once things start to get out, teams are going to leak things to other people that they want to get out. So the Niners are probably putting out there, listen, we got to deal with Cleveland. We got to deal with Patriots. Like Steelers, up your offer. That stuff is going out there too. So I agree. I've been in situations too, because I'm like you. I'm not an insider type guy, but I've been in situations where I've gotten news and had to go out with it. And you're going on an island, man. You're going on a limb, and especially on social media, people are going to come at you. Yeah. And with trades like this, it takes time. So things may happen, and also you may have really good information on Monday, and it may eventually happen in a week. But you got to spend a week of just getting pelted, man. Like I feel you, but I have to ask you. Okay, you've been on this. Where are we right now for what you know? Is this trade still happening? Is it still in the works? Is there a pause on it? Do we have a deal? Where are we?
Yeah, I mean, this is 9:30 Eastern time on Wednesday night. I have no reason to think that this trade is not going to happen. I'm sticking with it. I'm standing firm on this. I'm sticking to my guns. I think this trade is pretty much done. Mm-hmm. I think there might be an I to dot or a T to cross. I'm not entirely sure what that is. I don't have great clarity on what the loose end is that needs to get tied up. But Brandon Aiyuk is going to end up in Pittsburgh. And I see no other outcome here. If you even take what I've said out of it and you just do deductive reasoning and say, well, what are the other options that make sense? I don't see another one. Mm-hmm. He's not going to go to Cleveland. He's not going to go to New England. Unless San Francisco has this great awakening and they're like, we have refused to pay this guy $28 to $30 million all offseason. And now we've dragged this out. He's requested a trade. It's gotten ugly. Now we're going to do a 180 and say, well, actually, we'll give you that money. And I know, Samuel requested a trade at one point, got a deal. The Bosa thing dragged on. Okay, that's happened, but it didn't get to this point where, in my opinion, it's gotten this contentious. So I don't see him back in San Francisco. I don't see them now saying Brandon Aiyuk is actually more important than the Brock Purdy contract and whatever we need to make happen with Trent Williams to make him a happy man. And is there a mystery team out there? No one has reported that. No one is saying, well, actually, there's more than just these three teams. There's actually a fourth team or a fifth team or a sixth team, and you just don't know about it. So I think really what it comes down to is the 49ers are not going to get the kind of return that they hoped for or wanted with this deal. And they're just trying to find a way to make it tolerable and palatable for them as an organization and move forward and try to put this chapter behind them.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Nothing is more important than getting a good night's sleep, and when you don't get the rest you need, your whole day is thrown off. That's why it's so important to choose the right mattress. Sleeping on a Purple mattress is truly a unique experience, because Purple mattresses are made with a GelFlex Grid. The GelFlex Grid is an innovative material that moves with your body to relieve pressure in areas like knees and hips, and support in others like your back. It feels soft where you want it and supports where you need it. Purple mattresses instantly adapt when you move. You don't sink in and get stuck like with memory foam. And thanks to over 1,400 air chambers in the GelFlex Grid, you will sleep cooler on a Purple mattress. Purple has a wide variety of mattresses, from the original Purple mattress to the Restore Hybrid collection that combines GelFlex Grid with coils, and the Rejuvenate Luxe collection, the height of luxury, with over 112,000 five-star reviews to prove it. Visit purple.com to find the perfect Purple for you and enter code podcast10 to get 10% off.
The prostate. It's time for some straight talk about it. Prostate cancer is the second leading cancer killer of men. All men age 45 and older should be screened. Those with a family history of prostate cancer and African American men should be screened at age 40. KCUC has the most board-certified prostate specialist on staff. We treat the most prostate cancer in the metro. See the experts at Kansas City Urology Care. At KCUC, you see the best in KC. To make an appointment, visit kcuc.com.
That's where I'm on the Niners side of things. So people have said to me, listen, Aiyuk doesn't have any leverage. He clearly has all the leverage in the world. Because what's happening right now is, like you just said, the Niners are likely not going to get the best deal. It seems like there were better deals, at least from what's being reported, from Cleveland in New England. And Ayuk's not going to go there. So Aiyuk has leverage because he can say, I'm not signing a contract with this team. He wanted to either go to the Commanders or the Steelers, it sounds like. So now they are backed into this corner. And I think the holdup, just speculating for me is, they're trying to figure out the Niners are even trying to save face. Like they have to get some kind of compensation here. Have you heard anything in terms of what might be coming back to the 49ers in this deal if and when it gets completed?
Well, I heard what the 49ers were asking about early on. And when I say early on, I don't mean, back in April. I mean, maybe like up to 48 hours ago or 72 hours ago. Like, I think they were interested in George Pickens. I think they wanted to try to pry a first-round pick away from the Steelers. I think even Pat Freiermuth's name came up, the Steelers starting tight end who's in the last year of his deal and might get a contract. Will probably end up getting a contract extension from the Steelers once this is all said and done with. And I think the Steelers' situation or position is just like, we're not doing that because we're calling your bluff on it. We know that Aiyuk wants to be here. I think what's really killed San Francisco in this series of negotiations is that Washington is not involved. For whatever reason, Washington does not want Aiyuk, even though Aiyuk wants them because of Daniels. And if Washington was in this, then you could legitimately play the Washington offer against the Steelers offer and say, well, the Commanders just offered us a first. You're going to have to do better than that. The problem is there's no team that we know of, that I've heard of, and that's why I'm saying this deal is done, that is competing with the Steelers for Aiyuk. New England, he's not going there, even though the financial offer was good, and it wasn't like the trade offer was bad. And the Cleveland thing, this is just my opinion. This is not something I have in stone. This is just more educated speculation on my part. I think they were used to try to get more out of the Steelers from the very beginning. I have major questions about their willingness to put Amari Cooper into a deal. I just do. And I know he doesn't have a long-term deal there, and he's in the last year of his contract, but they paid him a bunch of money up front to make him happy. His salary for the season is only like $1 million. It was pretty much just a signing bonus to pacify him. And I don't know. I know he's been traded a couple times, but I just have in the money situation there with Watson and cap questions going on in the future. I don't know. It just seems far-fetched to me. And why wouldn't the Browns want to get involved in something that potentially took something more valuable away from a team that they're competing with in their own division? I could see them being a willing partner in a negotiating ploy like that. So that's the conspiracy theorist in me. I'm not saying that absolutely happened, but you notice, Al, when these insiders have thrown the Browns into the conversation, no one really does it with this conviction like, hey, they really, really want him. The Browns are really good. They came out of nowhere in the last few days. They're convinced that Aiyuk puts him over the top. No one has said that, which makes me think that they were put into this whole thing to try to get the Steelers to give up a bigger trade haul in this move.
Yeah, the Niners need to get a receiver back here. If they get rid of Aiyuk, they're all of a sudden really thin, and God forbid Debo gets hurt. You had two rookies that are probably going to make the roster anyway, in Cowing and Pearsall, but you could bring them along slowly, and now without Aiyuk, they can't. So I think, 49er fans were hoping for Pickens, even though I don't really think he fits the Niners. Hoping, obviously, Amari Cooper. So what I heard you say a few names. You were on 95.7 earlier, right? You mentioned three names I want to ask you about because I don't really know who the hell these guys are. And if they are actually could come back in a draft or in a trade, I want to at least get some info on them. And maybe this has changed since then. But so the first one you mentioned was James Daniels, the guard that Pittsburgh had signed from the Bears a couple years ago. Tell me a little bit about him. Is he a solid starting guard? Is he somebody you can plug right in as a starter?
Yeah, I mean, he look. I mean, Feliciano and Boone there. I would guess, not having watched every snap of 49ers football or scouted those guys or asked around about those guys, I feel confident in saying that Daniels would be a starting guard on the 49ers. I think solid is a great way to describe him. He's not a Pro Bowler, but he's also better than an average starter. Now, I think at times he has not lived up to the contract here. And I think part of that is not only the offense that he played in, but also the guys that were around him to his left and to his right at center and right tackle. I think he could play left guard. He did in Chicago before he came here. So I don't think he's more of a left guard or a right guard. I think he can do both. I mean, he's an $8 million guard. That means he's not cheap. That means the Steelers, when they signed him, thought he was upper echelon at the position. And he's somebody that, maybe he gets to San Francisco and they like what he brings to the table and he ends up signing an extension there long term. So I think he's one of the few players on the Steelers offense who you could say, you put this guy in San Francisco and there's actually a chance he starts for that offense.
Is your child struggling with a specific subject or need help with homework? Are they asking questions that you're not sure you can fully answer? IXL Learning is an online learning program for kids. It covers math, language arts, science, and social studies. IXL is designed. This program will improve your kids' grades. Studies done in almost every state in the country. The kids who had IXL are consistently doing better. Powered by advanced algorithms, IXL gives the right help to each kid no matter the age or personality. And it doesn't have to eat up all your time. One subscription gets you everything for all the kids in your home, pre-K to 12th grade. So don't miss out. 1 in 4 students in the U.S. are learning with IXL. IXL is used in 95 of the top 100 school districts in the U.S. Make an impact on your child's learning. Get IXL now. And listeners can get an exclusive 20% off IXL membership when they sign up today at IXL.com/audio. Visit IXL.com/audio to get the most effective learning program out there at the best price.
Okay, real talk. After you buy a new house or a car, you're usually swirling in excitement. The pure joy mixed with a little bit of overwhelm because it's a big purchase and really mixed in with that joy. The words that you want to be thinking about are, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. That's the phrase that will help you feel good knowing you have people who care to help you file a claim or find the coverage for the things that you want to protect. And listen, sometimes the topic of insurance can get a little bit overwhelming, but it really doesn't have to be complicated because, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. So with those big new purchases like that car, that house, you want to be thinking about long-term coverage and protect the things that you love. And the key here is being able to customize. State Farm has the options to fit your unique needs, which means you can talk to your agent to get the coverage you need and have coverage options to protect the things you value most. Plus, you can file a claim right in the State Farm mobile app and reach a real person when you need to talk to someone, which is super key these days. So when you need help protecting the things that matter most, remember to say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Okay, you can do this.
I know. Carvana makes it so convenient to sell your car. It's just hard to let go. My car and I have been through so much together.
But look, you already have a great offer from Carvana. That was fast.
Well, I know my license plate and VIN by heart, and those questions were easy.
You're almost there. Now to just accept the offer and schedule a pickup or drop-off.
How'd you do it? How are you so strong in letting go of your car?
Well, I already made up my mind, and Carvana's so easy.
Yeah, true. And sold.
Go to Carvana.com to sell your car the convenient way.
What about the tackle you brought up, Dan Moore? I know he struggled a little bit. You think he could be someone that they might throw into?
I mean, he stinks, but let me just say that the Steelers here have a history recently of guys who they either played out of position or rushed into play, and they went somewhere else and they turned into really good players. Well, one guy in particular, and that's Kevin Dotson, who the Steelers played at the wrong guard spot, and he went to LA and was awesome last year and signed, Hunt broke the bank in Carolina, but he signed a huge deal to sign back there. And that was just a scouting find, but a coaching miss by the Steelers that they weren't able to get more out of him. He had a promising rookie year, and they could never get him to follow up on that. And then Kendrick Green, who was a third-round pick at center who replaced Pouncey, was a disaster. But then he went to Houston and played guard, and he was adequate last year with all the injuries they had. So what I'm saying is Dan Moore was a 4th-round pick who started from day one at left tackle, and he's annually, if you go by pass block win rate, one of the worst tackles in all of football. But maybe a change of scenery with better coaching, he could turn into something. But I haven't seen it here. They've drafted tackles the last 2 years in part because I think they want to try to push this guy out the door. But he seemingly finds a way on the field for the Steelers every season. So
I had heard that away for the 49ers. I
heard that, jokingly, I had heard from someone inside the Steelers that 49ers coaches were told, hey, watch Dan Moore tape. And I can't imagine that was an enjoyable experience. That had to be torture. That had to be like Clockwork Orange for those guys to watch him play tackle.
All right. And then obviously, like I said, the Niners want to get a receiver back here. And the name you mentioned earlier was Calvin Austin, who's a smaller receiver, a 4th-round pick in 2022 with only 17 career catches. Is he still a name to watch for the Niners? Is he anybody with any upside if he comes over?
Well, I mean, all of these, Daniels is different, but for a team that is trying to win a Super Bowl this year, and clearly San Francisco is trying to do that, this would be trying to, in Austin and Moore's case, I can't even say low risk, low reward because they're getting them back in a Brandon Aiyuk trade. So, you can't have Calvin Austin or Dan Moore be the best piece or best part of a deal for Brandon Aiyuk. I still can't imagine just Aiyuk remaining in San Francisco, but I would be insulted if that's the best that the Steelers are willing to do in this deal. And I do think that they will ultimately end up doing better when this trade gets finalized. Austin he's a speed merchant. Austin's one of these guys that Sauce Gardner said when he was at Cincinnati was the hardest guy in college he had to cover when he was at Memphis. We had not seen it. He caught an early touchdown against the Raiders in week 3. It was a 70-yard bomb. And that was really legitimately all he did the entire year. Now, again, I caution people, their offense was so bad and their offensive coordinator was so incompetent that just because he couldn't find a place for this guy doesn't mean he's a bad player. But it's obvious to me that this current coaching staff also doesn't have the highest of expectations for him if they're willing to put him in a trade like this, which I think if that's who San Francisco wants, they'd obviously do that.
And what you just told me kind of backs up my concerns with the Steeler trade because I didn't think they had any players to send back. And it seems like guys like that are just replacement level players that you're throwing in a deal. I'd be pretty upset if that's the case for the Niners, what they do. So the draft pick is going to be huge. What picks come over? Obviously, there's going to be picks involved. I heard a 2nd and a 5th. Is that sort of what it is from what your understanding is?
Yeah, I think that's totally in play. I think that makes complete sense to me. No one has told me on the record that that's what is going back to San Francisco, but I think that that's something that the Steelers would be amenable to. I just don't see a way in which San Francisco comes out of this looking like they got the better end of this trade on paper. I don't.
I agree.
I know 49ers fans probably hate hearing somebody in another city who covers another team say that, but I just think that they're dealing with someone who has his mind made up on where he wants to play. And I also think that, people have said, well, they'll just keep him. He's not going to hold out. He's not going to risk game checks and all of that. I'm not in that 49ers locker room. I don't know those guys, but I just would not want to mess with the chemistry of the team if we don't get a deal done with Aiyuk and make him play for $14 million. I imagine he has a lot of friends in that locker room, and I can't fathom them being cool with that. At least in T. Higgins' case, he's on a franchise tag and he's making a lot of money, even though he doesn't have a long-term deal. Literally, Aiyuk's peers have gotten double what he's prepared to make this year. And I don't know. I think they're so good and in so many different places, Al, that I wouldn't want a disgruntled Brandon Aiyuk to potentially mess with the camaraderie and the team chemistry this season. I wouldn't. I take what I could get for him, turn the page on it, and trust Kyle Shanahan and everything else they've got in place there. Ricky Pearsall eventually, you name it, to get the job done and not have this stand in the way and be a distraction all season long for the 49ers.
I think 49ers fans are prepared for this to be a punch in the gut when they see the compensation. There's just no other way. They're backed in a corner right now. So assuming the best is I do have to ask you this question before I let you go. I guess there were rumors at the draft that there were talks between the Steelers and the Niners as well, that I was maybe on the trade block there. Do you know if a one was on the table at that point during the draft?
I don't think a one. Let me put it this way. I heard that the one for this past draft, so the Steelers' 20th pick, was not something they wanted to trade for Aiyuk. They did not want to give up the pick that ultimately led to them getting Troy Fautanu. They did not want that pick to be the pick that they gave up for Aiyuk. I have reason to believe that they would have traded their 2025 first-round pick for him, next year's first-round pick. I think they were that enamored. I think they were that enthralled. I think they had convinced themselves that they would give up a first for this receiver because they look at him as that much of a difference maker. But I think now they feel like they don't have to do that to get what they want. So
yeah,
that's the part of it that makes the 49ers look bad. Like if they had just
the timing
accepted reality and had resigned themselves that Aiyuk was not long for San Francisco, they probably would have been able to get something done. But again, the 2025 first-round pick, Al, does not help them win a Super Bowl this year.
Well, this is certainly not going to help them win a Super Bowl this year either, with losing Aiyuk and maybe getting a second next year. But, if you look
unless Daniels is in the deal and he ends up being, a very good offensive lineman for them. But again,
it's such a tough sell for a player like Aiyuk, though.
No,
you know what I mean?
I know, man. I know.
And it's just for the Niners. The Steelers, look at their depth chart. It's Pickens, and then there's not a lot to be excited about.
That's the whole reason why the Steelers are trying to make this trade.
Yeah, and you could have, if like you said, accepted reality back in April, maybe you do have a first-round pick, even if it's a future one, and now your back's against the wall. So, well, Andrew, listen, I appreciate you, having the guts to come out and post what someone told you and stick to your guns. Because again, I know people are coming at you every which way, and it takes a lot of guts to do that. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on the show. I hope you're wrong. I hope this all falls through and Aiyuk stays with the 49ers, but we'll see where it goes. But thanks for the time.
Yeah, no problem, Al. You bet, man.
9 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey!
2400 Sports is an Odyssey company.
America's favorite place to watch football is Stadium Swim, located at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Catch all the biggest games at a viewing experience built for sports fans. Chill in one of their 6 pools on 3 different levels for a perfect view of their massive screen. Plenty of seating options from cozy daybeds to private, temperature-controlled cabanas. Stadium Swim. Book your spot today at circalasvegas.com.